Should Sidney Crosby move on? USC is just not good enough, and my Baseball Hall of Fame ballot, all on today's 14:20 in the morning. Let's get into her.
The following is a presentation of the Ballot Sports Media Network.
14:20 in the morning, 14 minutes and 20 seconds where the sports talk to get you through your daily commute. Hot takes, recaps, best bets, and a little humor to get your day going in the right direction. Sit back, grab your coffee, and let's get into it. All right, 14:20 in the morning for this 30th day of November 2024. Today's show, as always, is brought to you by SeatGeek.com, the SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420SEAT at SeatGeek.com today and save yourself $20 on your first purchase over there at SeatGeek. Time to start filling up those stockings for the Christmas season. Remember, we are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Go to BellyUpSports.com for all their great articles and other great podcasts. I've actually got the No Credentials Required podcast on right now. I'm at down the homeland of Fort Macleod, Alberta right now. Santa Claus Parade weekend here in Fort Macleod. Be the 41st annual Santa Claus Parade in Fort Macleod. It's always a good time to see some old friends, reminisce, and everything going on back here in the small town of Fort Macleod. It's a long story that got behind this the parade here that I won't actually I'll tell. 40 some years ago, my dad had a hardware store in Fort Macleod here, and they were trying this parade idea at Fort Macleod, and there wasn't any people signing up for this parade. So Steve, being the man of people that he was the first to sign up, and then the rest is history, and it's become a great big thing here in Fort Macleod. So Steve, thank you very much up there for everything you did for this town and everything. So anyways, going to get things rolling a lot more. I know I've been a little bit off schedule per se for a while with the job with the Bulls and everything else, and just trying to balance the home life and everything. But I really enjoy this podcasting and broadcasting and being up on YouTube and doing the whole thing and talking to people. I've had a lot of people talk to me. They want me to get back doing it a lot more. So I'm going to put in some different efforts, different things, and try some different stuff to get 14:20 in the morning going on. Maybe not every day of the week, but I'm going to try to get them out a couple times a week and then get back to a full-time schedule with the regular show. And plus I got the Bullhorn going on as well. So if you haven't checked that out, if you're a baseball fan, it's Southern Alberta, WCBL, Carter Clarehout. We had a nice interview with nice talk today. Got going with that. So I'm going to try to get things going again, the website, the articles, the things, and all that stuff, get it up and going, and get back to what I really, truly love is this broadcasting thing. But anyways, let's get into her right away here. Back, it must have been a couple of years ago. I brought it up. I can't remember what show it was on, or if it was my own show, or if it was on somebody else I was a guest on. But I got talking about Sidney Crosby moving on from the Pittsburgh Penguins. And if there was ever a possibility, he might say, you know what, thanks, bye. See, it's time to move on. Time to grow my legacy a little bit and see what else I can do. I'm a competitive guy. This is me talking third person, like I'm Sidney Crosby, like I know what's going on between his ears. But I always thought there was a possibility that Crosby might want to move on from the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I think right now might be, if there's ever going to be a chance for it to happen, the chance might be right now. He's got he signed a 3-year, $8.7 million, of course. That's what he's always played for, the 8.7 to match 87 on the back of his jersey. But I've always thought that Crosby, being the competitive guy that he is, he didn't get to where he's at by not being competitive. But being the competitive guy that he is, he might want to move on from a Penguins team that is truly broken and it's not getting any better. Kyle Dubas, when he went there from the Toronto Maple Leafs, has not made that team any better. In fact, he may have made things a lot worse. I think that Crosby might be on his last legs in Pittsburgh, and it'd be his choice 100%. He's earned that choice. But I think that Sidney Crosby might want to rethink that contract. I might want to rethink saying that I want to end my career in Pittsburgh. You can always go back, sign that one-day contract, which I truly hate as well. But it might be one of these situations where Crosby says, you know what? I think it's time to move on. It's time to cement my. I want to win. I've only got 3 years left, and I'm not here to just be a ticket guy for you anymore here in Pittsburgh. I want to win a championship. I want to see what else I can do. I want to see what if the grass is really greener, if it's just different. I just think that right now, with the way the Pittsburgh Penguins are, they're at 22 points. I think they're second last in the conference. I believe they beat the Bruins yesterday 2-1. That Bruins team's a mess. But you think about how good that Bruins team should be, and maybe that they made that coaching change just the right time to push the issues on the players. But when I'm talking about the Bruins today, we're talking about Crosby. Crosby, the Penguins aren't going to be in the playoffs. I know it's early, but once again, we say it every year. You're in the 1420 podcast, For Beer Sports, talking a whole lot more. That I'm just drinking coffee this morning. It's 14:20 in the morning, but it's they're not going anywhere. They're not making the playoffs. They have a bad hockey team. They have no defensive structure. They don't play hard enough. They don't play well enough. They have an aging core, obviously, with Malkin and Sidney Crosby, who's very good, and Carlson's back there, and Letang's still back there, and the rest. But their goaltending is not very good. If you don't know who their goalie is, it's because he's not very good, so he doesn't matter. He won't be in the league next year. Tristan Jarry, I think his name is, for out those you who really care and really want to get down to the nuts and bolts of this thing. But Sidney Crosby is at a point in his career where he's got to shit or get off the pot. Do you want to be just that guy who goes out tipping the flag and saying, yeah, thank you very much, and be that guy to maybe, grow the young core and grow that Penguins team for generations to come, just as Lemieux did for him. Lemieux came back and played with Crosby in his first year, I believe it was. That's a long time ago now. And to have to be that father figure for the younger guys and groom this Pittsburgh Penguins generation, the next generation of Penguins players and fans and everything else, to say, you know what, here's my legacy towards you guys. I don't know if Sidney Crosby's that kind of guy. He seems like a hell of a nice guy. He seems like an ambassador to the game. He's done everything right throughout his career. So maybe second guessing what Crosby's doing probably isn't Brent Radlinski's spot. But I also think that Crosby is a competitor and he wants to win. You don't get to, like I said earlier, you don't get to that point in your career and win Stanley Cups, or 3 of them, and then the gold medals, the golden goal in Vancouver. That's 14 years ago now. Coming up 15 years, actually, when we get to 2025, when the Olympics are in February. It's been 15 years since that happened. So that's a whole lifetime ago for a lot of people. And for a hockey player, it's quite astonishing, the age of 37, that Crosby, I think he's at 24 points right now. And so he's still a more than serviceable hockey player. And he's more than a serviceable guy who can help out any team who's a little bit desperate or looking for that little bit of boost to get themselves to the promised land and win a Stanley Cup, or get to the finals, or get to, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, because the Oilers can't do it. How this team I'm going to talk about is going to get, comes back to Leafs. But I think that Crosby, I don't think he owes himself. I don't think he owes the league. I just think he kind of owes maybe a few people. Not owes, and that's probably not the proper term I'm looking for, but it would be kind of cool for hockey fans who've been watching Sid the Kid from back to his Rimouski days when he played junior hockey, to maybe see what else this guy can do, and see outside the Pittsburgh world, see if this guy can, maybe bring a team to the promised land. I think it'd be a great storyline for hockey fans right across the board. I don't think it's a negative thing if he was to leave Pittsburgh. I don't think it would be he's done all he could possibly do and then some. He saved that franchise just as Lemieux did before, but Lemieux had Jagger and Ronnie Francis and Tom Barrasso, and on it goes. I mean, I guess you could say that Malkin's been right alongside Crosby as well, but Malkin's not the polarizing figure. I think Malkin could go and help a hockey team too. I'm not sure what his dollar figure is a year, but I think he's still a great hockey player, a great big dude who could go and help a team a little bit. Not as fast as he used to be, obviously, but he's still got that grit, still got a little bit of meanness to him. Niet Soviet. Like, if anybody looked like a Bolshevik, and I'm not being derogatory at all, guys, he looks like the old Russians of the back in the Central Red Army days of the 1980s and the late 70s, when those Russian boys, they look like they're ready. They just got back from Siberia. But look, getting a little bit off track here. I would love to see Sidney Crosby go somewhere and help out a hockey team. And let's go right to Toronto Maple Leafs. I would think that if that would be the icing on the cake and the canvas, the cherry on top, the whole bit of everything, if Crosby could go to Toronto and help them win a Stanley Cup and push them to the promised land. That team's close. Like, you look what that Toronto team has done the last few weeks without without Austin Matthews. Went 6-2. Yeah, they got smoked the other night, but it's bound to happen with that roster they're putting out there. And Mitchie Marner's been really good. Mitch Marner had a great interview. Seemed really mature. He's in the tail end of his contract too. But you think that a guy like Crosby, if he went to a place like Toronto and could pull something off and somehow end up pulling a Stanley Cup to them, man, oh man, he wouldn't have to buy Tim Hortons ever again. I mean, he obviously wouldn't anyways, because I think he's been the face of that franchise for a long time too, with the Tim Hortons hockey cards. But I think that they brought it up on Overdrive. That's where I caught this. But I think that Overdrive might have been listening once again to the 1420 podcast, For Beer Sports, talking a whole lot more, some past episodes, because I've been bringing this up for a couple of years where the Penguins haven't been very good. They haven't been doing anything, and Crosby's the guy that might be able to help out a lot of teams. There's been some talk where you might want to hook up with Nathan McKinnon in Colorado, where he's the Cole Harbor, Nova Scotia. They're both from there. Might want to hook up with a hometown guy and see if they can't bring Colorado another Stanley Cup. But I think the thing you got with the Leafs is that their championship window is closing a little bit. Not that they ever had a championship window open, but their window to win, I guess, is a better way of putting it, because you think that these guys are getting a little bit long in the tooth, but before you know it, they're 9, 10, 11, 12 years into their careers, and they've done nothing. And like, how many more years can they to keep licking the jar and losing the second round and nothing happens? Could Crosby be the guy to make this happen for the Toronto Maple Leafs? And could Crosby be the guy to bring that ever long championship that they've been looking for a long time? And I think the answer is yes. Would you have to give up some draft picks? Yep. Would you have to give up some prospects? Yep. Would you have to give up some guys that are on your roster right now? Yes, because you have to clear salary space. So there would be some there would be some juggling, obviously, that would have to get done, and there would have to be some changes made to the Leafs' way of doing things. But I think that if they strike while the iron's hot, and the iron ain't going to stay hot forever. So I think going out and getting a guy, and at least having the knock on the door, and because Dubas, I don't know if it's a good relationship, because Dubas left on not the greatest of terms with the Leafs, but he has a relationship with the brass of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and can go knock on the door and say, hey, we're not offering this to anybody else. This is between me, you, and the walls. What do you got? If I was to let's start the conversation, and Crosby would have to okay this whole thing. I understand that, and he's earned that right 100%. But could you possibly have a situation where Dubas just goes, I'm going to go and go behind Sid's back a little bit, not in a nefarious way, not in a rude way. Could you have a guy? Could Dubas, the GM, go and knock on his old boss's door and say, "Hey, Shanny, Brennan, what do you want to call him? What do you got for? Let's explore the opportunity where Sidney Crosby becomes a Toronto Maple Leaf. Let's explore the opportunity that he comes. He's might be the guy that's they don't need to sell tickets, they don't need to sell merchandise. That's not the thing. Could this guy be the guy to get you past that second round that you haven't gotten past in how many years? Could Sidney Crosby? It's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee, but Crosby would definitely bring them closer than the roster that they have now. This is all podcast speak. This is all just hypotheticals. But if he was to knock on their door, what would it take? Because it's going to take some money. It's going to take some juggling. It's going to take some prospects. It's going to take some draft picks, and on it goes. But if the Leafs don't at least acknowledge this situation, if they don't at least listen to what Dubas has to say, they're fools. Not to say they haven't been foolish for how many years, but if they're to not even explore the opportunity, might be a mistake on their end. And a closed mouth never gets fed. And I think this is a situation where I think the Leafs have to, if Dubas was to come and knock, and they would have to say, hey, let's talk, let's get this deal done, let's see what we can do, all behind closed doors, all be quiet about it, because Crosby's been nothing but a great ambassador to the game of hockey, to the people of Pittsburgh, on and on it goes. Would Crosby have to initiate these talks? Maybe. Should Crosby initiate these talks? Yes. But I think that if the Penguins brass were to go about doing this, it might put a sour taste in Crosby's mouth. mouth. So it would have to be a very fine line how this was all put together. Because if you don't want to piss off your star, you don't want, it took me till 9:33 in the morning on Saturday morning to swear for the first time. Is that even still a swear word? I don't even know. But this might be a thing where you don't want to make your superstar upset. And then he says, trade me now. And then they get less for him. Because remember when Patrick Waugh got traded to man, I'm getting old. But when Patrick Waugh got traded on that fateful night, on a night where things didn't go so well against Detroit, when they got blown out 9-1 and they didn't pull him, and Ross said, trade me right effing now, Daniel Lemieux, slapshot-esque. The Colorado Avalanche they basically fleeced the Montreal Canadiens. The Montreal Canadiens got back Jocelyn Thibault and a bunch of parts, got nothing. So this would have to be a long, drawn-out process that might not happen till February, because you don't want to make Crosby mad, and then he says, trade me now, get this deal done. I don't care. This is getting done today. I'm done. So this would have to be a very long, drawn-out process where Crosby and the Penguins have to agree on something, and then they have to agree what's best for both sides of not only Crosby and the opposing team, but most importantly for the Penguins, because the Penguins are at the swan song of Crosby's career. So this would have to be a very, very cohesive, undercover, how you would keep this kind of a cloak and dagger, kind of a 007 situation quiet for everybody would be very tough to do. But Crosby has been very, very quiet throughout his career. Hasn't gotten in any trouble. Hasn't done anything wrong. Hasn't been in the he's the Derek Jeter of the National Hockey League, and so he hasn't caused any problems. He hasn't gotten himself in problems. He's never in the tabloids, never on Twitter, never on this and that. So if anybody could possibly do it, it is Sidney Crosby that would probably be able to keep this quiet and get this deal done. Would Crosby probably tell his teammates? Probably not, because the more people you tell, the more people they're going to tell. That's how secrets work, right? So this would have to be a very long, drawn-out process, or a quick one, or something that's like, yep, done, see ya. But get it done properly, because Crosby has earned that right. The fans of Pittsburgh deserve a bit of a see you later. Would this be a situation where you have like when Jordan came back, it was all talked about, but it was kind of close. When is this happening? So this would be the same kind of deal. And I don't know if Crosby would leave. I don't know if he wants to leave. I mean, he's earned that right to stay or go or do whatever he wants. He's earned that right to have another chance at Stanley Cup. He's earned that right. I mean, earn the right's nothing. I mean, I don't think Ray Bourque earned that right to get traded to the best team in hockey. Like I don't think that was an earned thing. He just got it, I guess. And I still consider Ray Bourque a Bruin. I don't consider him a Stanley Cup champion with the Colorado Avalanche. Like, I mean, it did happen, but I don't consider Ray Bourque a champion. And that's the other thing. If Crosby were to go somewhere else and fail and not do anything, it's all for naught. And he might by leaving, he might make the fan base in Pittsburgh. I mean, he'll be a saint there forever, but there might be some people, you know what? That was a dick move. Going when we're down, we've been behind you this entire time, and then you decide to leave. Like a LeBron situation with Cleveland, but he went back, but it's just different. So Crosby's in a difficult spot right now, or is it? Does Crosby just play out his career in Pittsburgh, and 2.5 years from now, he tips his cap and says, thank you very much. He has this many points. He has this many Stanley Cups, going to the Hall of Fame, retire his jersey, on it goes. He's earned that right too. So I don't know if you're going to have him. Maybe it's going to be too tough to go somewhere. You've been somewhere so long, you have a routine. Athletes are creatures of habit. So Crosby, every day he goes to Mellon Arena, does this. It's still even called Mellon Arena anymore. He does this. He knows this guy. He knows this guy. They know his routine. He probably goes to the same place for coffee before a game, has the same meal, has the same house, takes the same route. And then all of a sudden, after how many years in the league, been 18 years in the league, all of a sudden he has to change that overnight if he ends up in Toronto, the hustle and bustle in the media, which would be a lot different than it is in Pittsburgh. The hustle and bustle of obviously Pittsburgh's a cosmopolitan town, not as much as Toronto, or into Denver. If he goes there, same kind of deal. Yes, he could probably stay at Nathan McKinnon's house for a while, get used to things and buddies and stuff. So it would be a big transition for a guy who's 37, 38 years old to say all of a sudden, you know what? I'm out. The only place I've ever played, the only place I've ever known, I'm out. and I'm going to go somewhere different. Maybe it's just not worth it. Maybe everything he's already accomplished is good enough. And there's a difference between what he's playing for, I think, and what Ovechkin's playing for are two different things. They came to the league around I think the same year. Obi's got one. It's too bad that Ovechkin got hurt, because I think he would have got that record. He had 15 goals when he got hurt, and he'll be out until probably February. So I think he would have got that record this year. He was flying. But Crosby and Ovechkin are playing for two different things. Crosby's been, I think he's always been a team guy. Win first. My stats will get you there kind of a guy. My stats will improve it. My stats will, if I do well, then the team's going to do well. He's been an assist guy, whereas Ovechkin's he's always loved scoring goals, even at the age of 38, 39, whatever he is now, and he's scoring goals here. It's like he did when he was 21. So it's been the same thing. And Ovechkin got that Stanley Cup a few years ago. That got Ovechkin's legacy. Stanley Cup, good. Let's get the goals record. And that's what Ovechkin's playing for now. Nothing else. And if they win, great. He'll be happy. But Ovechkin's going for that goals record, and that's it. He'll get it, and it'll happen. But Crosby's playing. I think he's playing now not for any more point record. He got a 600th goal the other night. I think that I don't think it's going to happen for sure, but I do think that there is still a possibility that it just might happen. An outside chance, but I think you heard it here first in the 1420 Sports Bar podcast a couple of years ago. And I think there's still a really good chance that it could happen. I just can't see a guy with the competitive fire of Sidney Crosby sticking around in a team that's not going to win, because they're not. And you only have X amount of years and needed to run out of games. He's done it all already. And but I still think he's got a lot to prove, not to anybody else, but to win one more and say, you know what, I did it there too. But if you don't, then what? He kind of because Iginla, I don't want to say he tarnished his legacy by going and chasing a cup, and then it didn't happen. He would just stayed in Colorado, or then he went to the Bruins. It just kind of looked kind of bad going here and there and everywhere else. So maybe it is just better off for Crosby to stay where he is. He's got his 3 cups and good enough, and ride off in the sunset in Pittsburgh. It's a Penguin. I don't know. It's just it's interesting. Iginla didn't have one, so I understand why he went, because the Flames weren't going to win when the contract was up, and they couldn't afford to pay him. But Crosby's got a contract for 8.7, which is manageable. I mean, it's not a huge dollar. I mean, it's not 14 million, 15 million bucks. It's 8.5. But I think I don't know. I think there's an outside chance that Crosby rides. He moves on to somewhere else and wins Stanley Cup somewhere. Because I'd take him if I was the Leafs. I'd explore it. I really would. You have to move players and some prospects, but like I've always said, prospects are just players till they prove something, and you have a proven commodity in Sidney Crosby. You go and get him. He's a proven player. Will he look good in blue and white? I don't know. I don't know. It'd be odd, but he wouldn't hurt that team. He would not hurt that team. And boy, oh boy, it'd be exciting to be a Leafs fan come playoff time, because he might bring them to the promised land. He's still that guy. The leadership that he has, he still wants to win. He's still good enough to get it all done. And he'd help that Toronto Maple Leafs team in spades. And they're close. I know I say this every year, but I think the Leafs are really close, and Sidney Crosby might be that guy to put him over the edge. Anyways, American Thanksgiving yesterday. There's